I'll give a quick recap of what we've discussed so far. So in the reflections of last week, we talked about the trouble of staying in your body and
yes,
avoiding orgasm, the intensity of orgasm, and all of the potential discomfort of feeling too much or not feeling enough. And that can be physical or emotional, mental, it's all across the spectrum. That we can find ourselves avoiding ourselves by being too giving with a partner and using our partner as a way to not be fully present with our body, with our pleasure, or with our pain. And also doing this if we're having solo pleasure sessions by thinking about work.
right.
Or redecorating the room
Mm-hmm.
when we should be paying attention to ourselves. So I was giving Debbie the exercise of trying to start with small moments of really powerful solo focus.
Who are you talking to?
30 seconds of really focusing on yourself and going into your body, really getting super curious about all of the different sensations going on in there. And if it gets too intense and you start to feel anxiety creeping up or the urge to avoid, then just to acknowledge it and give yourself permission to shift back to a more comfortable focus. So maybe that's your lover, or maybe that's redecorating your room for a few seconds. And when you've caught your breath and things don't feel as intense, you come back to that solo focus again and see if you can pay attention a little bit longer before the intensity builds. And you're like, I want to leave my body again. And you repeat this swing back and forth of focusing on you, focusing on something else, focusing on you, focusing on something else, until you build that muscle of being able to be present and to feel. And from that point, I mean, it's really endless. You can just keep going.
Hello?
I hear your company still in the background.
Well, so I've got a question. How do you find individuals that practice yoga? Because the assumption would be that they have a better handle on staying present in the body when it comes to intimate situations. But I'm finding that not to be true, even for myself personally, and even for individuals that I interact with and have these conversations and speak with.
I will say, yes, I've noticed the same thing. And having just come from a yoga festival out in California, teaching out there, running a Yoni egg booth out there, in fact, some of the women who are on this grouping registered there. And what I see a lot is these awesome areas of, I guess, body hobbies, I'll call them, like yoga or strength training or running. It seems like we can use these just as much to help avoid other parts of our bodies by focusing on the ones we're comfortable with. So there are a lot of women that come in doing yoga that don't ever go into their pelvis. So they might be really conscious about their legs. Like they're going to make sure that their spine is straight because they want to get that perfect down.
Right.
But they're not paying attention to what's really happening in their pelvis. And even in, you know, going into teaching the up and the down Kegel, which you already know, is fascinating to observe how many women never even actually engage. There's not a full contraction, and there's certainly not a full release.
Right.
You know, not pairing breath with it. Like there's so much dissociation that happens. Like you can have a yogi who's really conscious of everything, and then there's just this numb, black, empty abyss that is their hips, where they never really put their focus. Which is interesting because I hear a lot of cues in yoga classes about, like, you know, breathe out of your vagina, breathe into your vagina. It's like, yeah, but are you really teaching that?
Right.
So that's what I love about the Yoni egg practice. And even if you don't want to use Yoni eggs doing any of these practices, you can still do them. But the Yoni egg gives you that internal cue that gives you something physically, internally to anchor on and pay attention to that can really accelerate that pelvic awareness and up level your yoga game or your lifting game or your squat game or whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I still see a lot of yoga people with a lot of hip issues that don't have the awareness or the knowledge to know what to do with it outside of different yoga poses that really benefit by taking classes like this.
Right.
It seems like you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I said, with even with many that dance and use the pelvis as much as we do in the form of dance, right? Because the freedom of movement and moving in your pelvis that way can be an escape, but actually, you know, dropping into it. When I started to really heighten my awareness and attention, I was like, oh wow, this is like a totally different level altogether. And I've been, you know, I grew up dancing and moving my hip. That's like a cultural thing. You know what I mean? So I find it really I find it really interesting. That's like another subculture, if you will. You know, a subculture, if you will, of movement practitioners, whether it be dancers, you know, yogis and stuff like that. But like you're saying, it is a different awareness altogether. And I'm not saying, of course, ultimately the whole purpose of dancing culture like that to move your hips is there's it's cultural, but it's definitely a wellness aspect to it, right? You know, to help with menstrual cycle and everything. Originally, that's what it's made for. But what you find is there's just, like you're saying, it's so true. There's so many ways to disconnect from it. You just get lost in a rhythm. You can disconnect by just, you know, being connected to a rhythm and stuff like that. It's just quite interesting that you're mentioning that.
Yeah, we can take anything that's good for us and turn it into a negative tool. So the Libra in me is always harping on balance. So, you know, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. You know, I'm obviously an orgasm advocate. I think, you know, even if you're not paying attention to the fact that it feels amazing in your body, the health benefits are out of this world.
Yeah.
But you can also be using orgasm as a tool for self-harm and self-abuse or for avoidance, and, you know, ways to manipulate your partner, even ways to punish your partner by not giving an orgasm to yourself because you don't want them to be satisfied and to feel like a man or a woman. There's so much, you know, you can't just make a blanket statement about orgasm being something you can never get enough of, because you can, depending on what you're doing with it. So that's also something that I love teaching, is like self-responsibility and awareness for what you, oh my God, I see you now! Yeah!
I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out. Forgive me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
But yeah, too much of it can be a bad thing. And there's been a huge boom in orgasm culture as women are reclaiming their bodies. That's so beautiful to see. But I'm also seeing the backlash that's coming in the waves of that I really love to help women avoid, not just for their sake, but for the sake of their relationships. And all of the young women that they are also raising and teaching and educating on these things as well. So yeah.
So
that's
true.
What I'm doing.
Yeah, you know, and kudos to you. It's amazing.
And kudos to you.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing with the dance, and, you know, going back to that pelvic awareness. And what I love about the Yoni eggs is when I first started using them, I've been doing belly dancing just for fun, just for me.
Right.
And even after years of being, you know, an alignment, chronic pain massage therapist, like rehabbing bodies, my specialty was scoliosis and all of that stuff. So yes. I knew that I was off, and I could tell that when I would try to do like hip moves on one side, I couldn't do it on the other side in the same way. And the same thing with like shoulder movements. Why did one shoulder want to move better than the other one?
Okay.
And you never know these things about your body until someone lets you know that there's something you don't know.
Right. Or just the objective eye, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I had never paid attention to it before in dancing. And then I noticed going out that I was really comfortable grinding to the front, like really
Right.
laying my pelvis to the front. But you would never
Right.
see me arch my back and pop my ass out. And I was like, why
Right.
is that?
Right.
I don't consciously have an issue about poking out my ass.
Right.
It was just the way my muscles were in my pelvis that I was guarded so much more towards the back. And Yoni eggs were great. And, you know, obviously learning how to self-assess and massage internally, which for those of you who don't know is taught in these videos, to start unlocking from the inside and to feel what you're doing internally when you're engaging your stabilizer muscles, those pelvic muscles, to know that pay attention to what's happening when you're dancing or to when you're having sex. Does one side hurt? When you masturbate, do you feel pain on one side, or to the front or to the back, or with certain types of orgasms, do you avoid them now because they cause discomfort? Like,
that's right.
There's so much your body is waiting to tell you. So that's another reflection question with, you know, orgasmic experiences, is what is happening in your body and with your orgasms, and on the physical end, not just the emotional end. Alrighty. So did you have did you have any questions or comments before I'm going to jump into some of the teaching points for this call?
Well, let's have you jump into the teaching points while you've got certain gorgeous children that
are joining.
Yes, I got my earphones in, so it's
gotcha.
not like,
I figured you did, or he's gonna get a good education.
As I plan to give him, yes, but I think one step at a time.
Right? Yeah. Being a stepmom to two boys that are 11 and 12, I so badly want to give them my primal man class and be like, just take these now.
It's good.
You need to know this stuff.
They do. They really do. They really do. Make them better partners, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So our topics tonight, the polished points, and you'll find expansions on this in the videos on the website. So go ahead and continue moseying through those at your own pace.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about breast magic, breath work, and how hormones connect into both of those. Like, I've had quite a few women take this class because they're wanting to work on balancing hormones with menopause, or even not menopause, just, you know, painful menstruation, infertility issues, or just the inconvenient things like lots of headaches and acne.
Right.
So breath work and breast massage is a really key piece in what you can do on your end to start correcting some of these issues. So we're going to just jump in with the breast magic. Of course, because we're covering mindset in these as well, part of what I want you to begin reflecting on is how do you feel about your breasts? Do you regularly touch and engage with them? Do you walk proudly and not mind if they're out? Do you feel like you need to wrap them up underneath a push-up bra and a sports bra and a turtleneck? I see this.
I know.
My own best friend is beautifully endowed, and she keeps her shoulders up and forward, and very, very tight, restricting bras and baggy t-shirts because she had shame around her body. She didn't want them out there. She was tired of being seen as just boobs. And, you know, I am not as deliciously endowed, so my shame came from hiding the fact that I wasn't well endowed. So wearing like the padded bras or the baggy sweaters so that you couldn't tell anyway. So, you know, what are your feelings about your breasts? Are they points of shame, things that you hide? Have you ever thought about that? Are you totally in love with them? Because all of these things are going to directly relate to the health of your breast.
Yeah.
For example, if you are that woman who always wears a bra, whether it's for comfort or just to keep them out of the way, this is going to affect your circulation, your lymphatic movement. It's also going to affect what your muscles are doing. Some people like to think that bras keep your breasts tighter and higher, and they really don't, because it's just like any other muscle in your body. They atrophy if you don't use it. So right now there's this beautiful epidemic of the dead booty syndrome. There's one woman I follow who teaches booty band exercises, and they're really fun and they work really well, but she's talking about the fact that we sit so much now that our gluteal muscles and our hip muscles are atrophying. So there's a huge increase in sciatic issues and lumbar issues and hip issues because those main muscles aren't in the condition to perform their job. So then you have nerves that are much more exposed, blood vessels that compress easier now because they don't have the flesh of these, you know, functioning muscles to protect them. And the same thing happens in your breast. These ligaments, tendons, muscles that all keep your tissues in place atrophy, and you can actually create more issue by never giving your breast the ability to work out and move and swing and sway. So if you don't love that idea, then at least stop sleeping with your bra on.
Right.
And massage them a lot in the shower. Let your lover massage your breasts. Like, it's so important that you get the circulation going, especially if you're a woman who's prone to fibroids in your breasts. You can massage those out. It may not be comfortable in the beginning because that's adhered tissue and all kinds of funk in there, but massage can do so much for breaking this up and moving them out. And, you know, lymphatic flow. 75% of the lymphatic flow comes through your armpit region. So if you're wearing bras, you're cutting all of this off, because all it takes is the weight of a nickel to compress your lymphatic flow.
Right.
It is super light, very light. So your bra is certainly restricting that flow.
Yeah.
And then it all builds up. And just fascinating statistics, women that don't wear bras have the same rate of breast cancer as men. It's incredibly low, very low. So is it really something that's just for women, or is it our behavior around our breasts that is increasing this? I would be curious to know. But, you know, not all women can go braless, and that's fine. Well, we all can, but we don't choose to. So what you can do for yourself is just ditch the bra as soon as you get home. Wear freer clothing when you're home. Make sure you're squishing, moving your breasts around as much as you can. And in your shower, give yourself a 5-minute breast massage. You know, we all like to stand in the shower anyway, so take advantage of that time.
Right.
Incorporate that into your foreplay. And if you're a woman who's not really comfortable asking for different, you know, types of foreplay or the duration of foreplay, then use me and your health as the excuse in communicating to your partner. You know, hey, I just got told about this. I don't want breast cancer. Will you massage my boobs for me? It'd feel really great.
Right.
Might turn me on too. I need a minimum of 15 minutes. Work it. This is also a way to start increasing your orgasmic ability when it comes to your breasts. A lot of women have numb breasts. It's another side effect of locking up, having, you know, too much restriction, not enough circulation. Most of the time, numbness is coming from some kind of compression and circulatory issue. So if there's a spot on your body that doesn't give you flutters and tingles, then give it some massage, see what you might be doing. Like the whole butt thing. Are you sitting all the time and not getting up and giving a good glute workout? Are your breasts always compressed? So pay attention and massage. Get that stuff circulating, and don't just dig in and be mean and aggressive. Start with like the really soft, light things to wake up your nerves and tell them hello, and to get them to just pay attention, and to teach them that it is okay to be aware of sensation in the area. This is also something to really communicate with a partner, because most men touch too roughly, and a lot of women don't vocalize that, and they just put up with it. That's our fault, okay? We can't say that they're a horrible, shitty, uncaring lover at that point. We haven't communicated. So we have to make sure that we're doing our part to explore our own bodies, which is a lot of what this program is about, teaching you what feels good, what areas are painful, what areas are numb, what areas do you hate, because if you hate them, it's likely you're not letting your partner love them either. And if you don't have a partner, then just do them a favor and keep doing this work so that one day the partner you do have gets to enjoy the benefits of dealing with these things. So in your own breast care practice, aside from, you know, physically what you wear and how you feel about them, who touches your breast the most? This is a question that I get really surprising answers from, because you would think if it's your boobs, you touch them the most. But it can be really interesting, talking about body disownership earlier, how many women don't even touch their own breasts like you do to put them in a bra, or if you have an it. But when it comes to conscious, intentional touch, most women don't, just the same as they don't vaginally either. These are just areas of our bodies that we don't really own. We don't really explore. We don't really claim. And it's high time that we do. So just curiously inquire that. Who touched my boobs the most? Is it my kid? Is it my dog? Is it, you know, my cat? Is it my lover? I need to be number one on that. So that's just a little area for you to play around with. And when it comes to increasing that orgasmic sensation there, those light strokes are really what's going to do the best for you. Because most women, we start with a really sensitive scale when we're unaroused. We don't need much pressure to feel, and too much pressure can be really overwhelming to our nerve endings. As we arouse, we can handle more pressure, more intensity, different types of touch. Things that lower on the scale may even be uncomfortable. So definitely work your way up to more pressure. There are some women who absolutely love things like nipple clamps and breast slapping and pinching and tugging and biting, and that's fantastic. But make sure you're not starting there, because that can increase irritation, numbness, hypersensitivity in the not good ways. So there's that. And watch the breastacular massage video, because I go through different breast massage techniques that you can play with, and a little bit more into science and medicine. So the breasts are also really, really connected to hormone production and hormone balance. So that's just another motivating piece of why you need to be playing with them and letting your lover play with them, because this is definitely going to help you continue producing hormones you need. It is right in alignment when you're working on your whole chest area to starting to hit the hormone producing glands that run through the center. So play with those, the thymus, the thyroid. You definitely need to be getting all that activated. So doing like light finger tapping and all of that stuff just continues to get all of that functioning and moving. So play with that. Do you have anything to add on that or to inquire, Debbie?
And you know, it's just really fascinating just listening to this, because I used to teach in the massage therapy faculty, and I actually taught breast massage to the students again on such a, I guess, a scientific and clinical level, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of this topic today, and I just had a steaming client who is dealing with endometriosis. That's why she came in. Also, was before the endometriosis, she's in remission for breast cancer, and she had a partial mastectomy. And what she told me was that, it's so ironic. What she told me was that, you know, she had it before she got married, and her then husband and her were not intimate until the wedding night. And when she revealed herself, he was so horrified. And it was something that broke her. I mean, she's going through a divorce with him right now and stuff like that. But it broke her in such a way. And I was like, of course it would. You know, like I totally understand. Like it was just so heartbreaking to see how shattered she was. And I was like, what a jerk. But I was like, you know, he totally wasn't for you anyways.
Right.
So my homework for her was to start giving herself breast massage. And she's horrified. You know, she's absolutely horrified. But it's part of the process of, you know, reclaiming your self-love and just kind of taking your life into a different trajectory. So I started to just explain to her just, you know, about the scar tissue and everything with it, or should I say just moving it around and stuff like that. But, you know, it's just listening to you, and I just love to listen to information that I'm already privy to, but just hearing from a different mouth perspective thought and everything, because it just helps to land things home. Just even the way it's presented, I'm like, yeah, you know. So it's really good. And again, it's just so serendipitous that I'm working with her. I'll be working with her diligently from this point on.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about this, you know, type of thing, and just how the hormone production would really help to nourish like the issue of endometriosis and stuff like that. It's so I'm excited about, you know, just hearing you more and more.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, because it reminds me, like, it's easy when I don't have somebody in front of me who I'm tweaking the conversation to, that sometimes I can forget. You know, I've been in this genre and path for such a long time that I can forget about those body shame issues and the inhibition of not even wanting to touch yourself. Like, I do still get self-conscious about myself being viewed by others.
Sure.
But I certainly don't bother, you know, with myself. I'm like, oh, they're mine, my little itty bitty titties. I get to sleep on my stomach, whatever. But I didn't always feel that way about my breasts, but it's been so long that I can forget that I was at that point. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. So for the women watching who are at the point where you don't love the idea of putting a yoni egg in, even looking at your vagina, or you know, doing breast massage, why would you want to look at them? Why would you want to touch them? Definitely kind of the tough love, but also the empathetic tough love is just like, you kind of have to. You're never going to get beyond this point of ever letting anybody else love you or pleasure you if you can't first do it for yourself. And if you don't own yourself and your body, you're really just leaving it out there for anybody else to come up and claim. And I'll be the first person to say that that was my status quo. I was up for the first most convincing person who could convince me that they were the person who needed to have me when, where, and however. And it wasn't until I took my body back in a very, you know, sensual way. Like, as a massage therapist, I worried more about unwanted sexual advances when I wore scrubs and a ponytail. And when I stopped and I took my body back and I let myself wear, you know, earrings and lipstick and makeup and let my hair be down and feminine, and I let myself wear, you know, skirts and shirts, and I looked like a sensual woman, I had no issues. I never, and most of my clientele, it was like 60-40, 60% military men. You know, those guys could go overseas and get happy endings anywhere they wanted, and they could probably do it at most of the military massage parlors too. But I never had a man ask. There's some kind of power that it's like they know they can't even cross that line with you because you own yourself that powerfully. And that doesn't mean you have to go and try to dress like you're going to pick up some side work on, you know, downtown street corner. But it's just to say that you can dress sensually and powerfully and provocatively and own your body so powerfully that nobody else questions who owns it. That's part of feminine reclamation. That's the powerful side of what I'd love to see this current movement in society bring forth, is women reclaiming their bodies. So they're not floating out there for anybody else. and not from a vengeful way, but a really loving way. So when you are going through and exploring breast massage or inserting a yoni egg or vaginal massage and assessment, it's not from a point of vengeance or payback, or I don't need a man because I'm going to learn myself so well. It's like, no, this is magic. I'm going to get to know me finally. I'm going to worship myself because I need to know what that feels like. How am I ever going to recognize it if I've never tasted it? How am I going to know when another person can give me that if I've never seen that? So you've got to be the lover you want. Get your favorite scented oil. Rose oil, there's just a universal feminine sensuality to that. Maybe it's a societal conditioning. Maybe it's just that plant magic. But get some rose oil and just drizzle it on your body. Smell it. And when you're rubbing it in, just feel that Aphrodite magic. It's gorgeous. So when you're starting this journey, see how magical and luxurious and sensual you can make it. And in all of my teachings, when I talk about sensual, I'm literally talking about the 5 senses. So, you know, set up your environment to look pretty. Set the music to sound the way you want to feel. If you need to have a cry fest, then put on some cry fest music. That's a beautiful way to outlet emotion. And it's a safe way to outlet emotion. If you want to get all raunchy, then put on some raunchy music. Like, do what you need to. Get the fragrance going with candles or essential oils or bath bombs, however you're planning to do your pleasure ritual. But incorporate these things so that it can help create a sense of fun and seduction and reverence when you're getting into these parts of self-exploration that do make you a little uncomfortable and nervous. There have even been times when going that sensual was too triggering. So my sensual was fuzzy slippers and a cozy bathrobe and a cup of hot chocolate, because I needed to be that nourished, nurtured, and covered up before I could just think about doing any kind of breath work and feeling my body and myself. So let it be totally authentic. It doesn't mean you have to be in lingerie. I'd love for you to be there one day because that's just fun. But it's not where you have to start. That could be a future goal. So yeah, make that a universal part of your everyday living. And yeah, that's just fun.